We're live now.
We are live right now.
Hi, everybody. A little bit of a new face here on the YouTube stream for Workflow Wednesday. I'm Chuck Roberts. I'm the Technical Support Manager at SAi. With me today is Dean da.
Hello.
You're familiar with him from these live streams. This week, we're going to talk about tools to help you work from home because of the current reality that we're all living in, and everybody kind of doing a lot more remote work the last couple of weeks than we've seen in the more recent past. So those are the things. That's what our topic for today is. We're going to go over, first we'll start by going over Sketch. Sketch is available to all Flexi subscribers. It's a fast, easy, web-based design tool that you can send a link to potential sign buyers. It's great for them to use to make mock-ups for signs that they want to have, rather than the typical drawing it on a napkin or explaining it over the phone, just to have revision after revision to get what the customer is actually looking for. This is something you can send to municipalities, schools, just about any customer that you'd have out there that's looking to get some kind of signage made. The next thing we'll talk about is our artwork approval tool. It's a built-in tool available in Flexi versions 12 and above. It automatically tracks your approval status on jobs and sends approval proofs to the customer via an email link. It sends you email updates. It can help reduce turnaround time. Another thing that's really cool about that is that the customer can actually make notes on the actual proof and send it back to you for revisions, and we'll go over that when we get into that. Then we'll also talk about our cloud storage. That's available for Flexi 12 and above, and it makes for some fast and easy file sharing and collaboration between anybody on your SAi cloud account.
Great. Chuck, let me just step in here for a second. So some of these things are in Flexi 19 only. The Sketch is only Flexi 19?
Only Flexi 19 subscriptions.
Subscription. Okay. And the artwork approval tool was released with Flexi 12, right? Or Flexi?
I believe it's 12, yeah.
Flexi 12. And cloud storage has been in the product since Flexi 11. Great.
Correct.
Another quick question for you on this. The Sketch product. So does this replace Flexi design in the workflow?
No, it doesn't replace a designer, and it doesn't replace design. It's possible that a customer could use it and get a bang-on design that looks great with it, but that's not really the intended workflow for it. It's more intended for what the name would apply as a sketch, to kind of sketch out your idea and the mock-up of the sign that the customer wants, that they can use from their own remote location and send to you, and then you would make revisions to make it look more professional.
Okay, so that's why you say it's for municipalities and schools. It's for people who are not graphic designers. You wouldn't send this to a professional designer. You're sending this to people that think they can do a basic design. They want to play around a little bit. Maybe a school wants to do a logo, or a municipality wants to make a safety sign of some kind, or just a mock-up. So this is a mock-up tool, not an actual design tool, a mock-up tool. And as soon as the customer does that mock-up, it'll send it back to the Flexi shop.
Correct. Yeah, and it sends an email saying that you have something available, and then it automatically uploads it in PDF format to the cloud account.
So any sign shop that is in a situation where they're trying to pick up customers, people are calling them on the phone and they can't do face-to-face communication, they could send this out to them and get a mock-up and create a design in Flexi. So this really helps sign shops that are struggling getting customers and keeping customers because of what's going on in the world today. This tool can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because I know we've had some confusion with some users of where this fits in the workflow versus Flexi. This is not a replacement for Flexi. It's an add-on that gets you more customers and gets you more jobs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Let's take a look.
All right.
Oh, before we get into that, let me just make sure we are live right now. By the way, we're doing a live demo here from Salt Lake City, Utah. So anyone that's listening to this or watching it, if you've got any questions on anything that Chuck is showing us or on anything else, just type it in on the chat on the side, and we will stop at some point and address that. All right. Thanks. Sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
Okay. So we'll jump right into the workflow with Sketch. The Sketch workflow starts at the SAI cloud account or the SAI cloud window. I'll need to switch over to that real quick for you. Okay, so it starts over here in the cloud window with the SAI sketch button. Upon clicking that button, the window will show you a form that's just a simple email, and you put in your customer's email there.
Or potential print buyer or whatever. You can send this to anybody. There's no limit on how many people you can send it to, right?
Correct. You can send it to anybody with an email address, and it just sends it in a simple link form.
And they get an invite.
Yeah, and then they get an invite, which I'll pull up here shortly. So they get an invite that looks like this. It just says, dear customer, we have a simple web tool you can use to create a custom design with a link to go to Sketch. Upon clicking that link, they'll get to a window that looks like this. It's just a basic work area, a basic workspace for them to create a sign in. Because this isn't the first time I'm in it, it doesn't give all the tutorial steps, but there are tutorial steps that the customer will see the first time they use it. They can simply go in here and create some text and add it in. So
Wow.
they can say, maybe they're having a sale or something like that. They can also select this and make it bigger with the text window here. This is all web-based, so it'll work on any web-connected web browser. So they can say, I want it to say big sale here, and they can put another text object in and say maybe they want hours for the sale that they're having, or say when it is. They can say Monday, and they can move this around.
So they could play, you could give this to a school teacher and they could give it to the students and they could mock up some things. And if they ever wanted a sign, they could send it back to the shop. So people can play with this all day long if they want.
Yeah, it is a design tool at heart. If someone was willing to put in the time and had the expertise, there's no reason they couldn't make a not mock-up image. But like we said, that's not really the intent. And you can also go in and change if you can change your text over here as well. You can also upload images. I already had one preloaded in there. And they can put in, a picture of their storefront or something else that they might want to have in their on their sign.
Yeah.
There's also shapes like the starbursts that you often see for big pricing. Maybe it says 10% off in there.
Right.
They can select the colors. It's pretty straightforward and intuitive kind of design. And like I said, the first time they use it, they will have a tutorial that will walk them through getting started. A tutorial overlay over the top of the tool.
Yeah.
So obviously this would be something that was a little on the crummy side. If you were to just hit print on that, it wouldn't be the most professional looking sign, but like we said, it is a mock-up. There, I should also mention before we move on, there's also clip art with different shapes like interstate shield and different things that they can put in, that they can add
now
to a sign.
When this goes back to Flexi, it's going to come in as a PDF. Are those going to be vector objects, or are those going to be bitmaps in Flexi? Am I going to have to vectorize those once they come in, or is this ready
they're vector when they come in?
Beautiful.
So if they want that exact shape, maybe they like that, you can just go right ahead with it and just roll with that image.
Okay.
That's something that they want.
Now, does this have like layers? It's pretty simple. It's not got this complex layering and all that stuff. It probably doesn't have cut paths either. That's something you as a sign shop are going to want to add after they send it to you. You don't want the customer dealing with cut paths, right? Oh, there are layers. Okay.
There are layers.
Okay.
But yeah, the layers for, and like I said, this is you get out of it what you put into it. So most customers probably aren't going to use the layers, but they are there if somebody knows how to use them
Yeah. Okay.
and things like that. So from there, let's say obviously that's just a Mod Podge of things that we threw in there, but let's say that's what they wanted to send to you. They would just hit this continue button up here and then fill out this form.
And it's guaranteed to go back to the sign shop that sent them the link. They can't send this to a different shop, right? It's
correct. It goes to the SAi cloud account that generated the link.
So every time someone sends a link to a potential sign buyer, they're basically sending a link to a potential lead for a sign.
Yeah, and all of that information gets saved and sent to the SAi cloud account.
Great. What does this look like in Flexi then?
So from there, it will actually send you an email saying that it's ready to go. So what we can do.
Oh, and the cloud has a list of all the jobs you've received.
Correct. It will show. Let me pull up what that email looks like. Just sends you a very basic email showing you that, hey, you've got a new sketch image has been uploaded to your account, and you can go to that link at any time. You could also just bookmark that link, which I've done over in my web browser here.
Now, if I generated one link, Chuck, I couldn't put it on my website and have multiple people use it, right?
Right. It's a single use link.
Single use link. So there's not an invite to just use the tool generically. Okay, that's good to know too. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, everyone will be editing the same design, right?
Right. So okay. You'll have your sketch files that you get are listed with intent here. So we click SAi sketch, and it'll pull up this this window here with the information that the customer put in.
Oh, beautiful.
Obviously, we left that blank, so it's blank, but anything that they put in, they can put in comments like quantity or anything like that they want to have on the order. So from there, they can just click download now. And it does take a moment to get that downloading there. And it opens up a PDF, and you can view it at any PDF viewer, or you can import it into Flexi.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll import that into Flexi here.
Okay, while we're watching you do that, if anyone who's watching this has any questions about this particular tool, the sketch tool, or anything else in tech support, by the way, we can ask it. Chuck is the manager of the tech support team here in Salt Lake City. A lot of you may have actually called him on the phone before. So he is an expert in Flexi as well as an expert in sign making. He worked at a traffic sign shop for how many years? 8 years?
8 years, yeah.
8 years. So, and you actually managed the floor of that traffic sign shop, right?
Correct.
Okay, so this guy knows what he's talking about. So if you've got any questions about Flexi at all on the technical side, just type them in the chat window on the right side of the video here in YouTube, and we will answer those questions. Okay, so this came in, and now we can do we have to unmask the top mask thing and then get the objects? And
yeah, so there will be a mask that basically just constrains the proportions of the image. So this particular one being 8 inches by 8 inches, we would just right click and select unmask.
Okay.
And then this our mask turns black here. We can just get that out of the way. And then everything will be grouped from there.
And then you can ungroup and go from there. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yep.
Is the text coming in as fonts or those curves?
It comes in as a vector object, so it doesn't, but all the fonts that are available on Sketch are basic system fonts that most Windows installations will have.
So it comes in as curves, and how would a sign shop change that to actual text if they needed to change the font? Let's say the customer said, well, I want this to be a different font, but it came in as curves in Flexi.
Yeah, you would just have to retype the font at that point because of the kind of stripped down basic nature of the tool.
Got it. Okay, great. Right. It's a
Um,
very simple, everything comes in as curves. You turn the text curves you turn into fonts if you need to, or you just leave them alone if it's okay.
right. And the basic, yeah, if it's okay and ready to go, you can hit print, um, and just immediately send it to the printer or cutter from that point and put out the job.
Okay,
So
cool.
from here's where the rubber kind of hits the road with the work from home tools as far as the sign shop is concerned, because your designer can do everything from this point as long as they have access to that SAI cloud account. They don't even necessarily need access to the email on the account, just the account online to get this file and bring it into Flexi from a laptop at home or wherever
Uh-huh.
they might be. Maybe they're on the beach or something for a week. Um, they can just take this basic mock-up they got from the customer and make a more professional design from there with it. So once they have the professional design, we'll just kind of make something here that we'll just make a quick little sample. Let's just say big sale. And let's say we want this white because we want this on the background. And if this is, let's say this is what your designer ends up coming up with for the final product here in the middle.
Mhm. Yeah.
We'll get rid of this stuff. That's where your artwork approval tool will come in.
Now we were talking to some shops yesterday, and they were telling us that they just send emails. We asked them how they do artwork approval today, and I think they said they export as a JPEG out of Flexi, email, open up a new email, send the customer an email with an attachment from the JPEG, and then wait for the customer to get back. And it's very difficult for them to track multiple jobs at once through email and all these JPEG files flying back and forth and which version is the last version and whether the customer actually approved that job or not. And this eliminates all of that and makes it just
Correct.
really, really simple.
Yep. So it's just right under the file button at the top left-hand corner of Flexi, and it's the send to approval tool. You just click that. It will track and it can pull what jobs you've already sent for approval. So if you've already sent a job for approval, you can add to an existing job. If this it was a revision. In the case that it's not a revision and it's an actual new sign, we'll select create new job. You can also do selection only or the entire workspace. For me personally, I would import files into a workspace and then work on what I was working on that day for that workspace just to retain the original file in case there were any problems. So
Right.
you may want to just do selection only if you kind of work like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you just put in your information here. We'll just put in my name there and we will say, oh, wrong one. Okay, and you can also add comments in here, artwork description, comments. You could be as simple as thanks for your business, or you could even put in details or options that they could do to change things. You can put in your artwork width, height. It's important to know that this width and height doesn't actually change the file that you're sending to them. It rather just notes to them what size the thing is going to be when it's finished. If you have an order number, a PO number, something like that, you can put that in here, and as well as a project code for your own tracking purposes. You can also put in a approval job name. We'll just call this one Workflow Wednesday. So upon hitting submit there, it does upload a Flexi file to your cloud account first, and then it will send a PNG preview in a web window with some tools that we'll show here in a moment.
So the customer gets an email that says, you've got an artwork approval from sign shop X, Y, or Z. click on the link and it opens up a web browser and they can actually mark it up.
Correct. And the screen sharing application we're using blocked the notification, but there's a notification that pops up that just says that upload to artwork approval succeeded, and you just click OK. That way you know that it has been sent. So from there, let me get this email pulled up so we can see what it looks like.
You're pulling up that email. We've got our first question from Johnny Gonzalez, and he asks us, what are you guys teaching today? We're teaching some tools in Flexi to help you work from home. You might be in a situation where you can't go to your shop or you can't get customers to come physically to your shop. And we have tools in Flexi that make that situation much easier to deal with. So this one we're showing is the artwork approval tool that automatically handles approval jobs from your customers and lets you mock things up and mark things up on the job. So, all right, so you're acting as a customer now, and you've got the alert. And now this says artwork approval request from SAi, and it's got no reply, and it's got this. We can actually change that, right? We can change the name of this email. We can customize this for the Shine Shop.
Yeah, it pulls this. So my cloud account, obviously, because I work at SAi, the company name on it is SAi, but it pulls this information right here from the cloud account. So whatever's on the cloud account, it will put in there, and you can change that by logging in at saicloud.com and just going to the settings. You can change that to say other things if you need it to say something else than what's already on there.
Have your company name, your company phone number, all that.
Yeah, the sign shop has prepared an artwork for your review, or Jim's signs, or whatever's on that cloud account, because it all links back to that cloud account.
All right, Johnny says that sorry.
Yeah.
Johnny says that he is familiar with this tool, which is awesome. Johnny, you also want to stick around for the cloud archive tool, the collaboration tool we have for cloud storage. And be sure and check out the first tool we showed as well, the Sketch tool. That's brand new. When did we release Sketch?
Sketch released just recently. The exact date escapes me.
But like last fall, right?
Yeah, we were. It was our it was one of our featured new things coming out at Printing United last year in October. I believe it launched sometime in February, officially launched.
Okay, we were in beta back last fall. Okay.
Yeah.
So Johnny, you want to check out that first tool we showed at the beginning of the live session. That's a brand new tool that lets your users do designs on a website and then send them to you. Oh, we got another question. Mickey Okendo. Give client different size options like 12 by 24 mag or 3x6 banner, for example. Oh, that's a good feature request.
Oh, is probably in Sketch, I would imagine with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, having like preset sizes. Yeah, that would be a good idea. We'll have to
That's a great
pass
idea,
that on to product management.
Yeah, Mickey, good idea. Thanks. We love your feedback, guys. Keep it coming.
Okay, so the customer gets this link, and they just simply click that link to open up this artwork approval, and that's the one that we created. This is a lower resolution PNG preview, so it does not send them the Flexi file. It does not send them a PDF. So in order for them to get this to use to, if you have some time invested in the artwork, obviously you don't want somebody to just take it and run with it and have someone else produce the work. It's not exactly the best for that kind of a situation. You do get all that job info that you put in. All the job info that you put in on the approval inside of Flexi will show up here for the customer with the comments that you've put in and everything else. So from here, they could simply just click approve and say, yeah, that looks good. Let's print it. Once they approve it, it will send you an email saying, hey, this has been approved. Then you have the nice benefit to that is you have an actual paper trail that they clicked approve that says, hey, they approved that. I know how frustrating it can be when a customer approves something and then comes back and says, hey, this was done wrong. And it wasn't. It was what they approved. I'm sure everybody in the business has run into that.
Yeah. Can we do a revision? Let's say we want to change that font. We want to mark it up. So how does the customer mark it up? They just click on it?
Yeah, so maybe they want this to be a different type of font. They just click and drag, and they can add a comment here and say, maybe they want this a script font, and then they would hit save. And then it saves a note over that. They can edit that as well. They could also go in here and say, maybe they want an element smaller, so they can say make smaller,
Oh, this is beautiful. They
or
can add as
maybe
many of those they want, and it creates a list of every single item that they want changed. So you get a change list.
correct. Yeah, and they could come in here and say that, maybe they want to specify a Pantone color in an area. They can,
Right.
put their Pantone color in here. I don't know what, I think it's 266 is our,
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, so they can say what Pantone they want. Once they've made comments and everything, then obviously this approve button sends changes to a send comments button,
Uh,
and
can
it
you click on
makes,
show full size, Chuck, real quick before you leave at the bottom?
yeah, so that'll show a full size kind of PDF preview, or not PDF, PNG. Obviously we can see some pixelation in there, so it's not by any means vector artwork that they could take and run a high
No.
quality print job with.
No, the only reason we added that big preview is so that if you've got small text, the customer can actually make sure that spelling and alignment on smaller text in the job is visible. That's all. Because that other,
Yeah,
most people though, actually, very few customers actually click on this big preview. Most of the signage is just big letters, and the customer can mock it up in a matter of seconds. They love playing in a web browser rather than typing in an email. Think about how much time it saves the customer having to mock up, and explain what they want changed. A couple of clicks, a couple of sentences, and then they just click send comments.
yeah, this really just streamlines the whole process. So then they would click send comments, and it'll send an email to the email on file saying that there's some things that need to be changed on that. But you don't necessarily need the email. You can just go in here to your cloud account and click on approval jobs, and it will give you, if they approved it, you'll see this status just approved in green, nice and color coded, so you can see it at a glance what needs to be done and what's ready to send over to your production team.
Mm-hmm.
So if you click on the job, you can just go in here and download the Flexi file. This comes in really handy because it cuts out the step we're going to show you later about uploading things to the cloud. You don't need to do that in a separate step. This is already done for you. Your production manager, when they're ready to pull the artwork and get it set up to run on the printer or the cutter, they can just simply go into this same login and click download now and get that file that the artist made, and it's in Flexi format already for you, ready to go. So
Beautiful.
from here, you can also go in and at any time edit that information that you already put in on the job. But this has some feedback that's been received. So there's a view comments, and you have a list of the things that need to change, and then you can see the areas that we highlighted that would need to change.
So the designer in the sign shop would then look at this, make a note of each one of those bullets, make the changes in the document, send a revision back off, and basically rinse and repeat and go through that. It's the same workflow that sign shops have today in terms of dealing with their customers, but it's just a faster tool.
Yeah, it eliminates clicking on, in the traditional workflow, you'd save the Flexi file, then you'd go to file and export it as a PDF or a PNG if you wanted to send a lower resolution. Then you'd have to open up an email, either type one or use a template email that you already have. Put the upload or attach the preview to the email, send it to the customer. The customer has to open it up. In the cases that I saw a lot, they'd either call and try to work through explaining what it should look like or what particular thing on the sign they want changed, or they would print it off and scribble some handwriting that you can't read over the top of what they printed, and take a picture with their cell phone from 2005 and then send it to you in a text and you can't even see what they drew. So this cuts out a lot of those variables between different technology types and different
Absolutely.
things, and it just really simplifies it down to a nice little web browser that they can get on at their convenience and just open up an email
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we found
make
that
notes.
we found that shops that actually switch to this tool, they can reduce their turnaround time on jobs by a couple of days potentially. You know, how long does it take a typical sign shop to turn around a job approval? 3 days, 4 days, 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, 48 hours is probably the minimum as far as placing the order till something's approved and ready to be
Right, right.
produced. I, especially if you're working with municipalities or even the state, which I did a lot in my career at a sign shop, it could take months sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So there's a couple of workflow opportunities here. One is with municipalities. If you've already got some signage that you've made for them in the past, but they need to make a tweak, you can just open that in Flexi the last time you did the job, and maybe they need to just change one thing on it. You can send it to them with the artwork approval tool. They can tell you what changes to make, and then they send it back to you. So in one step, you can use this to just get a change from a customer, an important customer.
yeah, and from there, from changing, it's just the same workflow as making a new one. You just, upon clicking the artwork approval tool, you put add to existing job, and then you can select the jobs that are in your account
Yeah.
and add to that. And then the selection only option makes it so you can copy and paste the entire design and make changes, so you still have that original,
Mm-hmm.
which is comes in really handy. That if they say, oh, I don't like that, just go back to the last one. You can easily make different, on the same workspace, make different versions of the same design.
Yeah. Hey, we got some questions here. Johnny
Okay.
Gonzalez is asking another great question. He's asking, is there a way to put watermarks on the work? And the way to do that is actually in Flexi before you send it off for artwork approval. No,
Yeah, that would be the way that I would do it.
can you show them how to do that? Because, you know, the tool doesn't, we don't want to add a watermark if you don't want one, but if you want a watermark, Flexi has a watermarking tool, correct?
I just would make one.
Can you
That
show us how
that
to do that real quick?
Yeah. So I would just, it's Johnny asked the question.
Yes. Johnny
Okay, so
Gonzalez.
maybe this is his logo, or you could put sample or any other kind of watermark on there.
Do a step and repeat if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could do a step and repeat.
Logo,
In
whatever.
fact, yeah, let's do that. Let's get a little fancy with that, actually. So I'll turn
Let's,
this kind of
let's make
sideways.
it look like a, so what are you doing? You're doing your angle on it.
Yeah, I just use my rotate function here in Design Central to rotate that around.
No problem. And you're going to make it transparent or light or something.
Yeah, first I'll just to make it kind of blend in with everything.
And once you've done this once, it could be an element you just bring in, right?
Yeah, and then we'll just go to step and repeat. You could have it saved and pulled up there.
You could save it out as a file, and then there you go. Beautiful. Look at
Yeah,
that.
and then so our step and repeat makes it real easy to just kind of do something like that. And that's under arrange and step and repeat. You can say how many times you want it to go. We'll just make this 4 and 4, hit apply there. And then I'll just take.
So I've got another question here. This is from Mickey Okendo again. And Mickey's talking about, he or she is talking about some gallery clip art that they could use and maybe even give to customers. He said, make a gallery of clip art ready, like car wash, plumber, etc. Extra background galleries and regular size charts, that kind of stuff. And
Okay.
buy from some. So he's talking about clip art and how could that help in this this workflow. Maybe we'll talk about clip art once we get done with the cloud storage.
Yeah, we can do that. We can talk about another subscription benefit, sign design elements that might, if I'm following the question correctly,
Yeah. The
that's
answer,
what I would
Mickey.
use.
The answer, Mickey, is we actually have exactly what you're asking for. We have clip art and content, vector elements, fonts, backgrounds, high-res stuff available to everyone that has a Flexi19 subscription. So we'll show that after we show the cloud storage. Great question, Mickey. Great
Yeah.
question.
So with this watermark we're making, I just typed in Johnny, and then we used our step and repeat tool or we angled it and then used our step and repeat tool to have it cover the entire image there. And then from there, I picked a color. And what we'll do is use the fill stroke editor to make it opaque, or not opaque, translucent rather. So if this window isn't open, it's easily toggled on and off with this fill stroke editor button right here at the top.
Okay.
So if that's not there, and then your transparency tab's the third one over. So we can just go in here and put that at like a 20% transparency. And we'll zoom in on this so we can see it a little better.
Oh, boom.
And you may have to play with the color or something like that. Maybe we can
That's
try
beautiful.
white.
Right. And you can pick a color of transparency or whatever based on the artwork of what you want to cover. So
Yeah.
So yeah, Johnny, you have complete control over that watermark. Just do it in Flexi, and then you would send that out for artwork approval.
Yeah, and then you just select the whole thing, use your selection only, and send it out.
Beautiful.
So
okay, show us the cloud storage. So this is about collaboration. So our scenario here is that you may be in the shop and you're doing production, and you have one or more employees that for some reason cannot come into the office or have decided to work from home, and you want them to still be able to do design and very quickly and easily get those designs in a Flexi print ready format. So with this stuff here, these tools, when you get that file, it comes in as a PDF, and then you have to play with it and clean it up and get it ready. What we're talking about is Flexi to Flexi communication, Flexi to Flexi file collaboration. So this is very powerful for you as a sign shop. It's also very powerful if you have a very important customer of yours that you feel like you could give them a Flexi designer. So if you can get them a Flexi designer, again, they could send you an actual Flexi file that is print ready. So let's see how that works, Chuck.
Yeah, and one of the things in the context, the context that we're living in now that spurred this topic is with people working from home and the market's kind of slowing down as well. The nice thing about this is that it's included with your it's included with your license. So a lot of you get 20 gigabytes of file storage, and that's included with your account. So it's not an extra fee that you have to pay, where a lot of people will pay for other kind of cloud storage services. So it's just something that you get that you don't have to pay for, so or pay additional for with that, which can go a long way, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
So
our scenario is, let's pretend for a minute that I'm the shop and I've got production manager, and you're working from home for whatever reason, and you're going to do a Flexi design and you're going to send it to me, and we're on the same account. Let's just assume that for a second.
Yeah, so once you have your Flexi file ready to go, you just click on File, and instead of clicking Save, you'll come down to Archive to Cloud. That's the most forward-thinking, or not forward-thinking. What's the term I'm looking for?
Fastest.
That's the workflow that makes the most sense, because file, save, and that. But for everything in these menus, there's also buttons, like that's the save, and then your archive to cloud is this button right here, which does the same thing.
So one click, and that Flexi file is now in your cloud storage, and then the production manager.
Yeah, well, it's not there yet. I don't know if it's sharing. Can you see the little window that says archive to cloud and specify a file name?
I see that.
Yeah. Okay. It's not, some of the alerts don't come up with the screen sharing that we've got, but we can just say workflow, just give it a name, and click OK. And then it goes into your cloud files. You can access those on the web browser, saicloud.com, in the same place that we pulled up the sketch file.
Mm-hmm. And this is one cloud storage account per user, not per license. So if the sign shop has like 5 licenses, maybe even 3 locations, they're all sharing that 20 gig storage, and they can collaborate among all their locations with one click.
Yeah, and they would all use the same login to get on saicloud.com, but they wouldn't even need to get that far. They don't need the login to use that feature. They just need the cloud window.
All they do is install the software, and they're automatically collaborating. So if you've got another designer back at the shop, you can click on files, you can bring it back into Flexi, or right at the production manager station, you could bring, can you open up Production Manager and show us that file? What I think is going to happen is people are going to be using Designer at home and have the production with the Production Manager still at the shop where the equipment is. So can you show us Production Manager? Yeah, there we go. All right, while we're waiting for that to load up, let me remind you, we are actually live on YouTube right now. So if you have any questions, anyone listening to this now, watching Chuck show us how to open Production Manager, put in your questions on the comments on the right side. We're more than happy to answer them. It doesn't have to be specifically about this. Chuck is the head of tech support here at Flexi, SAi Flexi, so he can answer pretty much any question on Flexi. If you call our tech support line, you're going to get a hold of him or someone else in the department. So you've got a chance here to ask any question and get a live demo of anything in Flexi.
Okay, so the cloud window in Production Manager is identical to the cloud window in Flexi. It's a little bit smaller in most cases, but the buttons are all in the same space. From here, you click on Files here, and you would click Download Now.
And there it is.
Yeah, and it downloads it. It won't put it directly into Production Manager. You'd have to save it to the computer and then open it up.
Right.
With Production Manager. But if you do this same workflow in Flexi, it will open directly in Flexi and then can be sent to Production Manager.
That's beautiful. So the reason we're showing you this tool is because a lot of sign shops are using this on a daily basis, and they just go back and forth, boom, 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 between locations and use that collaboration feature. So that's really cool.
Yeah, so we can delete this here and go into our files and then download now. And open the file. And there it is.
There it is. Beautiful. Fantastic. Okay, so we're done with that demo. Let's talk a little bit about clip art. So again, Mickey was asking about clip art, and is there a way that we could make clip art available to them that they could maybe make available to their customers as well as put in designs? And the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, so every subscription gets 5 free downloads from a website that we have called Sign Design Elements. It's accessed through the cloud window here or at sge.thinksai.com. And when you get there, you do have to log in separately with your cloud account login. You get 5 downloads. Let me get this pulled up here.
Yeah, now this location, this site has a lot of high-res graphics, a lot of vector elements, high-res backgrounds, and fonts. All of them are pretty much no cost if you've got a subscription. You get 5 a month with the subscription. You can buy an add-on to that to get up to 100 elements a month for how much? $14.95, something like that?
$14.99 a month. And you don't need a subscription to get the access to Sign Design Elements.
So wait a minute, any shop, anyone that even with Flexi 10 or Flexi 8 or something, they could get this for $15 a month?
Even if they don't use our software at all, they can get Sign Design Elements.
That's awesome. And this is 100 images. Now, how much would it cost to buy 100 high-res sign ready graphics? A lot, right? More than
you're probably talking thousands
for 100. And these are
really quality stuff. Yeah.
These are super high res for murals. Can you click on the different sections in here?
Yeah, so there's photos, vector artwork, final ready artwork, and fonts. It gives you kind of just a basic download. Maybe you're doing some signage for a sushi restaurant. They don't necessarily need to photograph their stuff to have you make a sign for them. You just download this little sushi roll and put it on a sign and get it ready to go. And this is a quite high resolution photo here.
Yeah, that's super high quality stuff.
And everything's in JPEG, JPEG format. Unless it's a vector, it would be an EPS format. And the fonts are all in TTF format.
So you probably get calls all the time from people about this stuff. What's the most popular graphics in here? Is it the vector stuff?
Yeah, the vector stuff is pretty popular because there's a lot of backgrounds and things that you can use. For example, this was one that I helped a customer with on a phone call in the recent past there, that it's a border, what they call a seamless a seamless image. So this can be tiled
Oh, right,
to
right.
make a wallpaper, or in this case, it was a custom wrapping paper. You could download this. You wouldn't even need to open this in Flexi. You could open it directly in Production Manager and use the step and repeat function in Production Manager to just step and repeat it and print as long of a length of continuous print as you wanted to in this particular instance. I've seen people use these type, there's thousands and thousands of these seamless images on here that
Wow.
I've seen people use for those kind of picture taking backgrounds at events.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll
What
just
about camo? Do we have any camo?
camouflage.
Yeah, there are camouflage patterns in there.
Yeah, we can do.
And didn't this used to have vehicle graphics in it?
I probably spelled camouflage wrong, but
Weren't there vehicle graphics in here at one point, Chuck?
yeah, there's also vehicle templates for those wrap companies out there. So that's just a misspelled search of camouflage there. And there's even these custom, looks like roses. There's all kinds of,
Wow. And these are
it's,
no cost. Now, there's no royalties on these either. So if you want to take these patterns and do something with them yourself, or even potentially share them with somebody, I don't know what the rules are exactly on that, but
yeah,
I mean,
complete commercial license when you have that is included with the
it's
download.
yeah.
So
We've got sign shops that are actually using these graphics for their website designs, for their T-shirts, for all kinds of stuff to give to customers. This is royalty free once you download it because you got the license with the subscription. This is an
yeah.
amazing resource for sign shops. Can we look at the vehicle graphics real quick?
Yeah, so the vehicle graphics are in this template finder here. They're kind of
Template
in a
finder. So they're a little
separate area. So there's two suppliers that we get them from, Mr. Clip Art and ArtStation, depending on whether you're doing a European a car in the European market or the U.S. market. You would search one or the other.
Is this the entire Mr. Clip Art library?
I don't. I think it's just the Mr. This is just the Mr. Clip Art vehicle templates.
But he has a lot of templates.
Yeah, I'm not that would be a question that would be better for someone in product management, that we could, if somebody was curious about that, we could probably look into that, but we just license the vehicle templates from that.
Okay, we've got another question from Johnny. He's asking, could we be able to sell our work on here? I think there's a way that you can submit artwork or license yourself as someone that submits artwork to this, because, and be a contributor to this Sign Design Elements library. I think there's a way that they can do that, but not directly through us.
No, this is admittedly it's an outsourced library that we license in a bulk rate to give a discounted rate to our subscribers.
Right. But if a sign shop or print shop has a lot of graphics and they want to put them out there and make money off of it, they could contact, you could go to the bottom. The answer is yes. You can contribute your stuff, but that's not between us and you. That's between them and you. So hope that answered your question, Johnny. We have another question from Gary. What is a good resolution for printing? Not sure what he means. If he means output resolution, that's the DPI of your printer, 600 DPI, 300. Gary, if you want to give us a little more details, exactly what you mean. Do you mean what resolution should the files be when you bring them into Flexi, or what resolution you should be printing them at? Because there's an input resolution and an output resolution.
Yeah, and that particular subject might be a whole nother live stream that gets into we get asked those kind of questions a lot in tech support, and
I'd love to talk about those.
Generic thing as well. What exactly are you doing? Because if it's if it's what's frequently called airport graphics, airport quality is usually a little bit higher resolution because they're images that are on walls that people are getting really close to, usually sometimes leaning on while they wait for an airplane.
Viewing distance.
Yeah, and then if it's something on a billboard, obviously you can bring the resolution down a bit and save the processing time.
Yeah.
Resources with it. So that's kind of that's a whole nother subject all by itself. But
I'm really excited to see these templates. So this is vehicle graphics. So there are literally, I think, tens of thousands, if not thousands, of vehicles in here. So if you're any kind of a sign shop or print shop that needs vehicle templates for municipalities, emergency vehicles of any kind, we have a lot of the vehicle templates in here already, and they're free with your subscription. There's no extra cost to download these templates. This is amazing. So you can do bring all that stuff. Let's bring in something. Can you bring in some kind of a vehicle and let's take a look at the template?
Yeah, so I'm just going to search Chevy Impala there, just because that's probably one of the more wrapped cars on the market right now.
Oh yeah.
So it just gives you
all the different years and things.
yeah, it gives you the different years and some of the different trim features too, depending on the car. But this particular one, it gives you the different views. This is mostly intended for making those mock-ups that you would
Right.
use through the artwork approval tool.
Right.
It'll also give you your shapes and things that you need to make sure that you cover a certain area with a certain graphic and that kind of stuff. One thing that we get asked about a lot is whether or not it takes into consideration curves for when it prints. It doesn't do that. That's something that when you get ready to actually output, you'll want to have an experienced designer kind of know where they need to add a little bit of extra bleed area for a graphic that might wrap around something. So it doesn't provide those, but it is there for setup purposes and approval purposes.
Yeah, these vehicle templates can really save you a lot of time in doing the mock-ups to get the job approved. You can very quickly put a pattern on this vehicle template and show it to them and get it approved. These are in high demand right now, and they're available at no cost, additional cost, with that Flexi subscription. That's awesome, Chuck. Great. We have an answer back from Gary Mullins on the resolution question. He says, yes, the file is being imported. So he's really asking what size. Let's both answer that question and let's have some fun with this. I'll give Gary my answer and then you can give me your answer, right?
Okay.
And they can be different answers.
Yeah, maybe.
So my advice for print shops who are printing out images, it's not about the DPI, because the final output is the DPI that really matters. You're going to use halftone dots on your printer, probably at 600 or 1200 DPI, to make the color on the device. And you've only got CMYK dots. So you're going to use multiple dots to create the color. So if you've got like a red area, you're going to use a lot of magenta and yellow dots to make that red. So the output resolution does not have to match the resolution of the input file. Here's the trick and tip. It's about pixels. It's pixel width of the file. It's not the resolution of the DPI. You want to have about 100 pixels per inch for whatever size you're going to print out. Okay, so if you're printing at 600 DPI, you want 100 pixels in that file per inch of output. If it's a 1200 DPI printer, if it's a 300 DPI printer, if it's a 720 DPI printer, you still only want to have about 100 pixels per inch on the input file. Okay, so if I'm going out 10 inches, I need 1,000 pixels because I want 100 pixels per inch and I'm going to print 10 inches. Does that make sense? So it's really about input, and then I'm scaling up in Production Manager. And then we're going to take those 100 pixels per inch, and we're going to use all those extra dots that the printer does when it scales it up to get the color right. Now, you talked about viewing distance, Chuck. 100 DPI works in most cases. If you're going to get closer up to it, like a sticker, a lot of sign shops and print shops are doing stickers, and they're looked at really closely, right? Then in that case, you want to have 300 DPI on those stickers.
Yeah, and typically 300 DPI is about as high as you want to go, because
absolutely,
with the printers on the market, you're not anything over 300 DPI or pixels per inch coming out of Photoshop or whatever, or your source image. You're kind of just wasting hard drive space and processing resources
and time.
Yeah. Because the highest, most printers on the market, the high end are about 1200 dots per inch, 1200 by 1200. I'd say a bulk of them are more like 600, and with 4 colors of CMYK, obviously it's not a one-to-one thing, but you're looking at you're looking at 4 drops of ink for every pixel.
Right.
So a quarter of that is really where the quality difference would start to get into the negligible area.
Yeah. The other way that you can look at this is file size. I know for a fact that if you have a TIFF file that's compressed, so it's a compressed bitmap TIFF file, if that TIFF file is about 50 megabytes, you can print that 8x8 square with no problem. So the other thing is, if your customers are giving you TIFF files over 50 megabytes, for any kind of poster or signage smaller than 8x8, it's absolutely overkill. If you've got customers giving you 200, 300 megabyte files, that's absolutely ridiculous. The first thing I would do is bring it into Photoshop and downsample it down to 50 megabytes in file size, compressed TIFF file 50 megabytes. If you bring in that 200, 300, 500 megabyte file or 1 gigabyte file into Production Manager, it's still only going to use about 500 megabytes of that data, but it has to read the file. It has to skip through. It's actually skipping through the lines. So your hard drive is getting trashed. You're doing all this input out, all this IO on your hard drive, reading, skipping through a file, and you're not actually processing it. So it'll look exactly the same if it was a 50 megabyte TIFF file or a half a gig file. Unless you're
Correct.
doing, as soon as you go to murals or anything big like that, then you need bigger files. But try to keep your customers to the point where they're sending you, the biggest files they're sending you are compressed TIFF files less than 50 megabytes. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the exception to that would be really a few of our users, and a few of our users do, your art prints and things like that. And
yeah, that's
those typically, obviously, that's a whole different discussion. But
right.
Being that we're in the sign business, I mean, that's probably what we're defaulting to.
I can tell you that major big brands, like billion-dollar brands, have deployed inkjet signage nationally, and these are for like gas stations, like movie-size posters, and all of them are less than 50 megabytes, and they look fantastic. You don't need more resolution, and they rip in like minutes or less. So if you want speed and efficiency, keep the file sizes small, and stick with TIFF if you can. Okay, I think we're done for today, unless there's more questions. We will be doing this again next week. Last week we did our Flexi color trilogy. We'll finish up that next week when Aaron gets back from vacation. That we're going to be talking about how to make ICC profiles and how to save on your ink and everything there. So be sure and check in next Wednesday when we do another live session. We'll check one last time. Are there any questions from the audience? We have 10 people watching right now. If any of you have any questions at all about Flexi, we've got Chuck, the expert here. We'll give him a minute. There's about a 12-second delay between what we say. Oh, nope, they're saying thank you. All right, Chuck, I appreciate it a lot. Get back on the tech support phones and
Will do.
Thanks for everything today, Chuck.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye.